Hello and welcome to another exciting edition of Talkin' Tunes. I am your host, Frank Walsh. Now, ladies and gentlemen, you are going to be in for a treat today because I have a gentleman here whom I've been trying to get on the show for probably the last 6 months, but mostly Mother Nature did not cooperate. Would book, would cancel, would get a snowstorm. But today it is a beautiful day and he is here. He is a gentleman who is well known around the East Coast. He has played with some of the biggest musicians around. His music is played on internet and satellite radio all over the world. And he is one of the nicest and most loved and most respected musicians around the Connecticut area and all around the Northeast. So it gives me great pleasure to introduce to you my friend, Papa Joe DeMaio. Papa J, how are you, man?
Pretty good. Finally glad to get here, finally.
Finally, it's taken some time. Mother Nature was not kind.
No, it seemed like every time that we booked it, we get a storm.
But you know what? That gives us like 6 more months of conversation that we need to catch up because you are a busy guy.
I try to stay that way. I really do. I try to keep things going and stay as busy as possible because I found that as you get older, the more busy you are, the less you notice that you're old.
I like that. I'm going to steal that line and, of course, claim it as my own.
Oh, please do.
But for some of the folks at home who may not know who you are, why don't you give a little bio about your background and stuff you play, and just give a little history of yourself.
Okay. Well, originally I started off in music at a very early age. I was born. Doctor slapped me. I sang an aria, and it's been non-stop since. I did the usual stuff, the teenage garage bands and high school battle of the bands and all of those things. And then I got older and wound up finding myself in company of the United States Army.
Okay.
And
thank you for your service.
Which, thank you. You're most welcome.
Thank you.
And if I had to do it again and I was younger, I might. Not anymore. I'm too breakable now.
Yeah.
But then I went to Vietnam for a while, and then when I got back from Vietnam, I said, I need to get back into music because, matter of fact, some of the people that I bonded with in Nam, some of my brothers and sisters over there, we had all talked about when we get out of here, we're going to go rock and roll.
Yep.
That's everybody wanted to do. All the people I hung with. And so I kind of picked up on it in the dedication to those that didn't make it back and can't do it.
Very nice.
And a lot of my music is about the service and the war and the things that it does to people even after the war is over.
Right, right. Now, you play guitar.
I play acoustic electric, some electric once in a while. I also play ocarina, a little bit of harmonica. I dabble with the keyboards a little. I used to be a drummer. But my overall
passion?
Yeah, is singing.
Okay.
I've always wanted to be the singer. I mean, I grew up in the era where Elvis was king, then the Beatles, and then it was the Beatles and Elvis battling for a while. And I grew up with all those crooners of the day because of my parents listening to music, like the Pretenders, Roy Orbison, Gene Pitney.
Right.
So I was into vocalizing.
Now, how would you describe your music? How would you classify your music? A little rock, a little pop, a little folky? I mean,
I would have
you
to
describe
say
it?
I used to tell people it was NU classic rock. Because the first song we wrote, Keep Rolling Long, sounds like a classic rock tune.
Okay. What's the NU?
For new.
Oh, new. Okay.
Classic
new
rock.
classic rock.
But I didn't want to put NEW because every time you put NEW classic rock, people think, oh, a new classic rock band.
I gotcha.
And we're not a classic rock band. We're pretty much an original band that plays a variety of music, from swing to hair metal and everything in between. And of course, I take each individual song and I put the Papa Joe twist on it and make it mine.
Now, before we get going, you just anticipated some of my questions I was going to ask you, and thank you for that. But you just mentioned Papa Joe. How did Papa Joe come to be? Where did the Papa come from?
Actually,
now keep in mind this is a public show, and it's PG rated.
It's family oriented.
Yeah, family oriented.
It's not anybody saying, "Yo, you're my Papa," or nothing like
right,
that.
Yeah.
It actually started.
If it is the case, just make up a lie.
Yeah. Okay. Here's the lie then. Out of my 10 grandsons,
Yep.
One of them called me Paca Joe. He could not say Papa.
Yep.
For the life of him. And so one of my birthdays, I received a baseball cap that said Paca Joe.
Very cool.
And I was like, cool. And then I'd go and people would go, Papa Joe, Papa Joe. And I'd go, take the hat off and look at it. Okay, it didn't change. It still says Paca Joe, but everybody's saying Papa Joe. So I said, why not?
Why?
So,
it fits, man.
So I started using it, and it caught on.
Well, it might have been a problem when you were like 30, but now it kind of fits.
Yeah. Well, back in the days, I went by many different names, as many musicians have.
Yep.
I was Joey Love at one point.
Joey Love.
Which I just now friended a guy on Facebook named Joey Love.
Okay.
And I had to tell him, I only friended you because I used that name on stage back in the 60s. And he was like, whoa, really?
That's cool.
So that was cool. And then I was known as Chic for a while, but that's when I had given up music to become a speed skater. That lasted a few years, and I said, now let's get back to music. I keep hurting myself.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think that's a show for another time right there, talking about you as a speed skater. We're going to have to do a part 2 and just focus on that.
If you're going to do that, there's going to be an encyclopedia of them as we go.
I love it.
Because after that, after I got out of the service, I went across the country because I had PTSD without knowing it.
Okay.
I took a guitar with me, and I played here and there, wrote constantly, but didn't play too often because crowds and I didn't get along anymore. So I was limited as to performing. Went out to California, fiddled around with being a chef and restaurant managers, things that I grew up knowing from my father taught me, and kept me alive.
Right.
In the meantime, I kept writing and doing stuff that I could like that. But then I met my wife, Cindy, and she found out what was wrong with me, not the world.
Okay.
Because I was running around going, what the hell happened to the world while I was at Vietnam?
Right.
Because I don't understand these people at all anymore.
Right.
And she had read an article and found out that I had PTSD. So years later, after I moved back to the East Coast, I started finding out more about it and trying to find help, which there wasn't much out there because they didn't know anything.
Not then, yeah.
They didn't know, which I'm happy I went through the 20 years of agony I did so that guys and girls today don't have to go through that.
Jumping ahead, I didn't mean to interrupt, but for the sake of time, and I think that this is important, is that as a consequence of that, you have dedicated a lot of your music and you have dedicated a lot of causes to the veterans.
Yes.
And trying to help them. And, that's one of the reasons why I think you're as beloved as you are. Why don't you talk a little bit about that? I mean, you've gotten involved in charity events, and I think you might even have something coming up.
Actually, yes, I've done many events for veterans in the past. I do have a couple of events coming up this year. One June 9th, it's for suicide prevention in Putnam, Connecticut, at Putnam Rotary Park. It's an all-day music event. I'm not sure what time the Papa Joe show's playing yet, but it starts at 12 noon, goes to 9 p.m., all kinds of genres, and it's for suicide prevention and depression awareness. I've been doing this one for about 10 years now, and as long as they need us and we're not on tour somewhere, we'll be there to play.
Cool.
And a veterans benefit we have, I got my fingers crossed on this one because it kind of got dumped on me kind of quick this year, and I wasn't really ready for it, but we're hoping we can do it because we've got 12 bands. We've got 10 or 11 guest spots. We have Serendipity Room in Uxbridge, Mass.
Yep.
We've got everything on the go.
Right. A lot of details. You're just trying to tie up
friend
all
Gary,
the details. I was just going to say we have to give a shout out to Gary
Gary
Haggerty.
Haggerty, matter of fact, is the one that got me involved
Right.
because he knew I was a veteran doing
Right.
veterans benefits.
Right.
And it coincides with Coast to Coast veteran benefit,
Right.
which started in California a couple of years ago
Right.
and is spreading across the country. Hopefully this year, states across the U.S. will hold veterans benefits the same day and then donate to their local veterans charities.
Right.
And our benefit is going to be a 12-hour show from 12 noon to 12 midnight.
Wow.
We're working on getting vendors. We're working on getting people to help out,
Right.
volunteers. We've got bands, but you never know. If you're interested, give us a call, because if it works,
Right.
next year we're going to start right away lining up for next year.
Yeah, well, we'll be talking about more of that on other shows, and as time goes on, I'm going to get involved in that, and maybe do some filming, and
Right.
you know, Roxanne and I might jump on board with that.
That'd be great.
But
We'd love to have you.
You know, so I'm not a veteran. I am a Vietnam era child, and I went to more funerals than I care to remember.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
But the ones who did have the opportunity to make it back, I would thank you on your behalf
Thank you very much.
for
And
everything
you're
that
welcome.
you're doing for that.
And
It's a great cause.
And because I made it back,
You made it back. Now you want to give back.
I have to, because for many, many years I went around feeling guilty
Sure.
about
Right.
making it home.
Survivor's remorse.
So, matter of fact, my song "Lucky" is one of those songs that tells about from the first day of being in a combat zone till 45 years later.
Wow.
So yeah, a lot of my music, matter of fact, the CD we're working on right now, Through Love and War, the first half of it is actually the second half of the story, because I start off with all the love songs, the
Nice.
things that brought me back to being a hippie,
Right.
brought me back to music, brought me back to wanting to be a good person again.
Right.
And then the second half of that CD is all songs like Slowly Die, Lucky, Not My Home, all songs about what happened during the war, after the war, and still going on.
Cool. Now, you had mentioned that you have the Papa Joe show, and you've traveled around the country, played with some greats. Who else is involved in the Papa Joe show?
The Papa,
You must have other guys up there and gals on stage with you.
Yes, I do. We now have a 5-piece band.
Yeah.
We have 2 screaming young guitarists. Dan Boylan, who is our first guitar, and Aiden Rogler is our second guitar. Then on bass we have Wild Bill Hopper. I have no clue who he is, where he comes from. Don't ask him. On skins we have Magic Mark Campbell out of Coventry, Connecticut, and it took me almost 10 years to put this particular band together. It started off in 2009 with a 3-piece band, and it grew over the years, and then...
That's awesome. Well, I wish that your band would be here today so we could get the entire show.
Maybe we could do that
We
in a
could
later
do
date.
that, but we're blessed right now to have you. And I always say that the clock is our enemy, so I
Yes,
think
it
it's
is.
about
I
time
see
that you get up there and maybe play a couple of tunes for us.
I will like to try to do that.
Well, let's do
I
it.
will let you know that I am injured, but I'm going to do what I can.
Well, I'm sure nobody would tell. So you sit there for 1 second, and
And we'll
ladies and
rearrange
gentlemen,
around. Thank you.
I want you to sit back, relax, and listen to my friend and soon to be yours, Papa Joe DeMaio.
The dogs were barking, the clouds were low. Little Paul said his first hello. My flesh and love had turned to life, all because of my wife and the grace of God, Almighty God. Thank you, Lord, for this newborn babe. I hope and pray his soul you save. I give him love and tender care. Try to teach him that you're always there to guide him, Lord, day by day. Little Paul, though you're small, you're a man inside. I see it in your eyes, I feel it when you smile. Little Paul, you've known all the while about love, that it comes down from above. The dogs were barking, the clouds were low. Little Paul was born many years ago. He's brought me sunshine, he's brought me joy. Now the Lord's given him his own baby boy. Little Paul, Zeus. The dogs were barking, the clouds were low. Little Paul said his first hello. Hello. That's Little Paul. Next up is one called Not My Home. When I came home years ago, thought that I might play a joke by knocking on my parents' door to let them know I was home from the war. But the joke was on me. They didn't live there anymore, you see. So I started to wander around, sleeping under trucks on cold, hard ground. And no matter how hard I tried, there was never a home in my eyes. Didn't matter what I tried to do, this was not the home that I once knew. I didn't sleep, I couldn't sleep, I self-medicated every day. It became the only way to survive that social decay. And the joke was on me. No one I knew lived there, you see. So I struggled, screaming out loud, My head was full of old boy sounds. And no matter how hard I tried, there was never a home in my eyes. Didn't matter what I tried to do, this was not the home that I once knew. But the joke was on me. I didn't live there anymore, you see. It wasn't because my family moved on. It was because of damn Vietnam. And no matter how hard I tried, there was never a home in my eyes. Didn't matter what I tried to do, this was not the home that I once knew. When I came home years ago, thought that I might play a joke by knocking on my parents' door to let them know I was home from the war. And the joke was on me. No one I knew lived there, you see. Now I wondered where I should go. How the hell do I get out of this hole? And no matter how hard I tried, there was never a home in my eyes. Didn't matter what I tried to do, this was not the home. Next up is a song called Keep Rolling Along. It started in an LA room. My son did his magic with some of my tunes. I liked the sounds that I heard. It somehow struck a real deep nerve. Have to keep rolling on. Have to keep singing my song. Have to keep rolling on. Started playing anywhere. Had to keep this music going everywhere. Let the world hear what I had to say. Gotta keep my music going every day. Have to keep rolling on. Have to keep singing my song. Have to keep rolling on. They say that music is good for the soul. Things like blues and rock and roll. That's why I have to sing my song. Pick up my guitar and play along. Have to keep rolling on. Have to keep singing my song. Have to keep rolling on. 9 years later, I'm on my way. Been playing this music every day. Let the world have a little cheer. Hope to be doing this for the rest of my years. Have to keep rolling on. Have to keep singing my song. Have to keep rolling on. Started in an LA room. My son did his magic with some of my tunes. I liked the sounds that I heard. It somehow struck a real deep nerve. Have to keep rolling on. Have to keep singing my song. Have to keep rolling on. They say that music is good for the soul. Things like punk and rock and roll. That's why I have to sing my song for Marie Michelle and Brian Young. Have to keep rolling on. Have to keep singing my song. Have to keep rolling on. Have to keep singing my song. Have to keep rolling on. Have to keep singing my song.
Wow. Joe, man,
I'm glad you liked it.
I tell you, that was real cool, bum finger and all.
Hey, I try. I
You know?
try.
But one of the things is that we have an editing booth here, so any clunkers that you hit, we can just go, we'll just beep you out,
Yeah, just act like I swore.
right?
There you go.
But no, that was, that was great. That was great. First of all, thank you again for, for being here and sharing your story and bringing your music.
Well, thank you for having me here.
Oh, you're welcome.
I appreciate it. It's been a long time coming.
Now, when you were talking about some of your other shows, why don't you reiterate a little bit about those shows that you're going to be doing and the benefits coming up, maybe where they are?
Okay. The suicide prevention show, which is known as Particle Accelerator.
Okay.
It was started 12 years ago. Some friends of mine, their son committed suicide on his birthday.
Wow.
He was a musician. His friends were musicians. He was also an artist. But musicians' friends said, we need to do a benefit. And they did one, and it's just been going on forever since then.
Well, God love them all.
I got involved with them like 2 or 3 years into it.
Yeah.
And it's a great experience. They have this thing called the Wall of Angels, where you can bring pictures of your beloved that committed suicide, put them on this wall. They have booths that explain where to get help, how to define depression and stuff like that. So the Particle Accelerator in Putnam, Connecticut, June 9th, 12 to 9 p.m.
But how can people get a hold of you, Joe? How can people hear your music? You say you're on satellite, you play it all over the world. How can people find you?
You can find me on Facebook, The Papa Joe Show, or Joseph V. DeMaio, D-E-M-A-I-O, on Facebook. That page, the Joseph DeMaio page, will take you to the Papa Joe Show page, fans of the Papa Joe Show page, and Great Cloud Radio, which is, we call it our home radio station, even though they're in North Carolina. But they've been backing us a lot.
Well, that's going to be on the screen anyway, and we're going to put that up there so people will know where you are.
Okay.
So, Joe, once again, I sincerely thank you for coming in. I wish that you could stay here for an hour.
Oh, me too.
But you know what? That means that you're going to have to come back and be a repeat offender.
If you want, I will do so.
So, for Roxanne Morse, for all the people here at Smack TV, my esteemed guest, Papa Joe DeMaio, as always, I am Frank Walsh. Tune in and tune on.